What's up, guys? It's your Money Cat. Today, we are going to talk about NIO. Thank you so much to L Bar. Asked me to do technical analysis on NIO, so that's what we'll do today. Actually, this morning was a notable day for NIO as well as XPeng, another Chinese EV company, as both of them reported their January of 2021 delivery numbers. So we'll briefly take a look at what they reported. NIO reported this morning that in January of 2021, they delivered a little over 7,000 EVs. And that is from compared to last January, that's a whopping 352% increase, which is remarkable. This was yet another record-setting monthly deliveries for NIO, and it seems like every month they're just continuing to set new monthly records, which is a really good sign for them. However, the stock didn't react accordingly to what seems to be like a good piece of news. In the pre-market, NIO started off pretty strong. It was up little over 3%, but since the market opened, it just kept falling and falling and falling. In the afternoon, it was able to rebound a little bit, and on the day, it ended up pretty much flat. It was negative 0.02%, so exactly where it began the day. This was a little surprising to me because today, the market overall had a pretty good day. It rebounded from last week's downfall, and I would have assumed that based on the overall positive market momentum, as well as great delivery numbers, I would have expected NIO to finish pretty deep in the positive green territory. So let's look at the chart and see what we can find. This is on a 180 days 4-hour time frame chart for NIO. Before we go on, it has been a while since I last covered NIO, so let's just prep some key levels. So first, we have this very strong support level close to $40. I'd say it's actually more like 39, but we defended this support level here as well as much later when it revisited that level, and here as well. And since back in October and November, NIO has been trading within this range where this $39 level was acting as the bottom support. On the top side, I used to have the resistance marked around $58 by this horizontal line, as that was where the previous all-time high was rejected. Even though NIO later on set a new all-time high at $67, I'm keeping this line alive. I'll explain it a little bit more later, but mainly because after hitting that all-time high at 67, price fell just a little bit too easily and fell below this resistance again, and it's been kind of going back and forth on both sides of this line, so I'm keeping this up here for time being. The last trend line we'll look at is this bullish trend line right here that began back in December. As you can see, each time price touched that line, it was able to defend itself and price reversed back to the upside. Same thing here, and this right here is actually what happened today, and I'm certain that I drew this trend line last night. So it's actually pretty amazing how, I can zoom in here, 1 second. So if you zoom in, this is what happened today, and I drew this trend line last night before whatever happened today. But you can see pretty much to the point, the price started dropping, and where it had the reversal intraday, that was right off of this bullish trend line. So it validated this trend line even more. So we have a pretty good idea where the moving support is this diagonal bullish trend line. Now, what about the top side? Ever since hitting all-time high at $67, you can look at this one of two ways, but I'm choosing to look at it this way because I like to be conservative when I'm projecting the upside. So I'm looking at it as lower highs going down, which will eventually form kind of a symmetrical wedge pattern where it really could go to the upside or to the downside at the end of the resolution. The reason why I'm looking at this as lower highs is because if you look at this time period, NIO hasn't done anything to kind of disprove this trend line. If it came up, although it came up here and stopped maybe there, then I would look at it differently, but it actually hasn't even reached the top side of this downward trend line. And furthermore, if you want to be really nitpicky, it looks like even in this time period, it looks like there's slightly downslope, lower high going on. Obviously, we don't know what will happen here, but as of now, it looks like it's lower high within the lower high. So that's why I'm sensing some weakness, at least when viewing from the top side. You can also look at it slightly differently. So let me get rid of this downward slope line, and I'm actually going to draw in a horizontal line. If you look at it this way, it is slightly more positive than the first way I showed you. You can see it as obviously the price got rejected by this horizontal level around $65, and as long as the bottom trend line continues, eventually you'll end up with a ascending triangle pattern, which is a much more bullish pattern than the symmetrical wedge pattern. This is very possible, and as soon as NIO breaks to the upside of the symmetrical wedge pattern, I'll definitely change my view to this perspective. But until NIO gives me some evidence or reason to view it more positively like this, I like to keep it conservative. Even though I'm being conservative with these trend lines, overall, I do think NIO will be headed to the upside, mostly because of how strong the bottom trend line looks. So again, it began here, and every time price dropped near or touched this trend line, it turned around on a dime, even including today. Furthermore, this green line here, the 180 days moving average, price has been generally riding that along, and it's almost traveling along with this uptrend line. So that's the double strength of both the moving average and the bullish trend line. Looking at it long term, my number one EV company is Tesla, and usually I don't believe in investing in all the other companies in that sector when clearly you can invest in the number one company. However, NIO is kind of an exception because it is a Chinese company. And because it's a Chinese company, it's in kind of a separate bubble. Now, that's both good and bad. The good is as long as the Chinese government is backing NIO and they're supporting NIO, I do think NIO will do great. And even if the success is limited within China, that will still be enough to drive up the stock price. Now, the bad is that bubble works both ways. I don't think NIO will have the international success that Tesla is having or aiming for. So it will be kind of Chinese only play. But if they become number one in China, that's probably enough to drive up the stock price. So if it does get rejected and goes to the downside, where is a potential good buying point as a long-term investor? Honestly, the only strong support that makes sense to buy in would be the $39 level. And I know that is very, very far away from where we are at right now. That's going to be almost 33% dip. Yeah, 30% dip. So I'm not saying this will happen. What I'm saying is if it does break down and the price is kind of staying anywhere within this range, I wouldn't necessarily just buy in. If it does reach close to 40 level, 39 level, then that's where I would jump in with 2 barrels loaded. But until then, if you already have some position, I'll just sit tight. If you don't have any position in NIO and looking to get into NIO, then I would give yourself a little bit longer leash, meaning that you would probably start looking to get in around 45 or so. So a little bit of bigger window, assuming that the RSI, the MACD, they look like the trend is about to reverse.